Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today to learn more about our Healthier Masculinities Partnership grants. I'm Cara and I'll be talking through the grant information with you today. First off, thanks so much for registering to learn more about this funding opportunity that's available as part of VicHealth's partnership grants. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar. There's a chat function and a question function, and my colleagues Emma, Natalie and Caro are here with me to answer your questions as they come in. We'll try to answer questions as we go, but we may also save some until the end. When we answer questions, we may allow for everyone to see the response, which means that if someone has the same question as you, you may find the answer is already on the screen. If we have any technical issues and it becomes too hard to keep going, we can stop the webinar and I can send through a copy of the slide deck and all of the information via email, but hopefully we won't have any issues today. I also want to point out that in the handout section, you'll be able to download a copy of the grant guidelines, as well as our Healthier Masculinities framework and scoping review. We'll also send out a link to the recording of this webinar in about a week. So as most of you know, VicHealth works with our partners in health, sport, the arts, workplaces, research and education to discover, implement and share solutions for long-term health. By promoting good health and preventing illness, more Victorians will have better health and well-being, which means they will have more time and energy for the things they enjoy. Our vision is for 1 million more Victorians with better health and well-being by 2023. We aim to achieve this through our action agenda, which defined 5 key goals for 2013 to 2023 in areas with the largest potential to reduce disease and deliver the greatest measurable benefits for the health of all Victorians. Our most recent refresher of the action agenda this year renewed our commitment to our 5 strategic imperatives, which are to increase physical activity levels of less active people, to further reduce tobacco use, to improve mental well-being, to increase access to healthy food and drinks, to prevent harm from alcohol products. The current action agenda also has 3 themes or core areas that run through our work: health equity, research, and arts. VicHealth knows there are a range of organisations who share its vision to improve the health and well-being of the Victorian community. The partnership grants are our new approach to grant making that will make it easier for organisations to access the funding they need to drive outcomes that directly contribute to this shared vision. There will be opportunities for grant funding available twice a year with different focuses. Organisations will be given plenty of notice about relevant upcoming opportunities so they can spend more time planning strategic partnerships and delivering grant activities and less time writing the grant applications. The current round that's open until late February includes 7 streams: active club grants, alcohol culture change, art of good health, everyday creativity, research, ideas partnership grants, as well as healthier masculinities. So first I'll just step back and give a bit of background into our Healthier Masculinities program of work, starting with what is masculinity. Masculinity is a social construction. It's a set of social expectations or standards for how men should think and act. It is multiple and situational. It intersects with other aspects of identity and social positions such as race, class, sexuality, religion, ability, and age. It is embedded in social norms, structures, and practices. So why are we focusing on healthier masculinities? Well, there are many masculinities, many ways in which men define themselves, and many are incredibly positive. But the evidence shows that there are certain ideas about masculinity which limit men. Research shows that men who do conform to certain forms of masculinity are subject to greater health risks and experience poorer mental well-being. Well-designed programs and initiatives that effectively engage men and boys to reflect on and challenge dominant forms of masculinity will ultimately impact on a range of outcomes related to gender equality and also a range of health and well-being impacts broader to this issue. We recently reviewed a wide range of research to better understand the role healthier masculinities can play in promoting gender equality, health and well-being. and to identify and learn from interventions that have already been undertaken. You can find these in your handouts and on our website. Using the scoping review findings as a base, we developed the Healthier Masculinity and Gender Equality to build understanding and to support good practice programs and project design. The framework is a planning tool that can support you to promote, particularly when working with men and boys. It compares harmful and healthy masculinities. It describes the current evidence. It lists good practice principles and design for programs and projects. And it lays out the frames for action with examples of taking a healthy masculinities approach to health promotion. Using the framework to guide you, our Healthier Masculinities partnership grants will provide an opportunity for councils to partner with other relevant organisations to develop, implement and evaluate interventions, contributing to the evidence base of what works in challenging male gender stereotypes and promoting gender equality. So what's on offer? Up to $140,000 over a 2-year period to deliver an initiative designed to promote healthier masculinities for young men and boys in Victoria. And we may fund up to 4 projects with funding commencing in June 2020. So now we have some time for questions. Please feel free to submit any questions you may have. And we've been compiling a list of any that have come through so far. I'm just going to take a moment to read some of the questions that have come through. So we've had a question about whether council has to be the lead organisation or can they just be a member of the partnership. And yes, with the current grants, council does have to be the lead partner. Another one is the 140,000 spread over the 4 projects, or would 4 projects each get 140,000? The 140,000 is per project, and there will be up to 4 grants of up to 140,000. So we've had another question about whether the funding can be used for a gender equality project with a masculinities lens, or whether it should be used for a specific health promotion activity with a focus on one of the imperatives. And yes, it can be used for a gender equality project with masculinities. As long as you're using the framework to guide your work, it should be appropriate. There's a few that ask questions along those lines, and I'll just reiterate that as long as the application uses the framework as a guide, so you're taking a healthier masculinities lens to any of your health promotion work that you're doing that aligns with VicHealth's imperatives as well as gender equality, then that should be appropriate. We've had a question about whether there's any avenues to contact councils who are looking to apply for this funding as a partner organisation. Unfortunately, you'll have to form the partnerships yourselves. Ideally, it would be good to put out feelers in your local area that you already have some experience. You can also contact MAV for some advice. Yeah. We've had some questions about key themes that we'd like explored. And again, it can go across all of the different VicHealth imperative areas or gender equality. At this stage, it just depends on the quality of the applications and what we receive about what ones we're going to prioritise. I'll also just comment that we can't give advice on specific programs, just so that we ensure that we're having a fair approach to the applications that do come through. Can more than one local government work together in one application? Yes, they can, but there will have to be one lead that puts the application in and is responsible ultimately. Another question about whether it can be a pilot program or whether we want an established program. Again, it can be either, and it depends on the quality of the applications that we get about which route we would take. you can use the funding to support aspects of work that you're already undertaking that take this masculinities lens. It doesn't have to be a brand new area of work for you. We've had a comment from Jesuit Social Services that they're working to support a number of councils as part of their project submissions, and that they'd be happy to talk to others, so that could also be another avenue to take if you're looking for a partnership. We've had a comment that the framework acknowledges that there needs to be significant work to first shift awareness, knowledge and confidence. And they're asking whether the expectation is that funded projects would get to the systemic or structural level within a 2-year timeframe. And we've realised that that is not a realistic expectation. However, if you are already working in this area and it is using an existing body of work, then that could be a realistic expectation. It really depends on the specific project and your work that you've done so far. Question that, will the research unit at Drummond Street be evaluating or external evaluators? I was unclear on what that meant, but then I realised that we're on Drummond Street, so that means whether VicHealth would be evaluating. We will be appointing external evaluators, and our request for quote will go out for that early in the new year. Can the funding be used for salaries for a new position to support project implementation? That is a possibility. You will just have to justify your project expenditure in a reasonable way. A few more minutes for extra questions that you may have that haven't been covered yet. There's been another question about whether there's a preference for projects that can be replicated in other locations after the funding timeline. And yes, VicHealth often takes an approach that any programs that would have scalability potential would be a preference. We had another one about whether there's any types of recommended partnerships that could help councils put together a project. And for that, it really would depend on the group of men or boys that you were intending to work with. For example, if they were accessible through school networks, that would be an ideal route to take. If it was sporting clubs, then you really have to consider the setting in which you're working in and approach organisations to form a partnership that would be appropriate to reach those men and boys in a meaningful way. Okay, I think that seems to be the end of the questions. So thank you again for tuning in to today's webinar. Please reach out to us with any further questions that you might have. Our contact details are available on the current slide. And we'll be in touch in the coming days with a follow-up email, including a link to the recording of this webinar in case you want to share it with your colleagues. Thank you.